I have nowhere to go. A pregnant young woman's amazing encounter with a millionaire revealed. Sarah twisted the little silver ring around her finger, her heart racing beneath the clattering noise of plates and the relentless demands of late-night patrons at the diner. The past few weeks had blurred into an endless cycle of restless nights and aching feet, but tonight was different. She was pregnant unexpectedly and could feel the weight of her situation pressing down as she navigated through the tightly packed tables filled with oblivious customers. She took their orders with a smile, but inside, chaos reigned. How would she handle this? The ringing of the register cut through her thoughts, and she caught a glimpse of Jack, tall, alluring, and enigmatic. He had a way of looking at her that made her feel seen, yet equally nervous. The reclusive millionaire who seemed out of place in her world of grease-stained aprons and harsh fluorescent lights was a constant reminder of how far removed she felt from everything that wasn't TA's struggle. The din of laughter and conversation felt like a hazy backdrop to her life, one filled with worry over bills piling high and the uncertainty of motherhood looming heavily above her. Her mind raced, questioning every aspect of her reality. Was she really going to face this alone? The fleeting romance with the artist had felt like an escape, a fairy tale that spiraled into chaos with a single positive pregnancy test. The memories of whispered secrets and reckless abandon clashed painfully with the responsibilities she now bore. How could she reconcile her dreams of becoming a chef with this new life she hadn't planned for? Every encounter felt like a judgment, a reminder of the family she had willingly distanced herself from and the privilege she would never know again. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Jack's presence made her uneasy, drawing her into a constant state of conflict. He could see her struggle. She could feel the weight of his gaze. He approached her that night, his voice low as he offered a hand stretched out for help. "I could assist you financially if you want," he said, eyes earnest, but she flinched at the caveat that came with it. Friendship, not obligation. The very idea of relying on him or anyone felt like surrendering a piece of herself she fought so hard to keep intact. The tension swelled in her chest as her coworkers, too, felt the strain of behind-the-scenes drama. Snide remarks and fleeting jealousies carved into the already cooked tensions. She could lose her job. Could this be what her life came to? To choose between holding on to pride or accepting a lifeline. With every shared laugh, every lingering look between her and Jack, she felt the earthquake shifting her very foundation. And then, just as she thought she was finding a way to navigate this all, her mother returned like a specter resurrecting all that was unresolved. Sarah would have to confront all the pain she had buried with that one chilling call. The chaos of emotions knocked her sideways, leaving her breathless, torn between the offer of a new life with Jack's support and the specter of her past looming painfully. In that moment of despair, as the diner wound down and last orders were called, the future hung like a question mark in the air. Would she allow herself to be vulnerable with Jack, to accept the help he was offering, and risk her heart in ways she hadn't considered before? Or would she cling desperately to her independence and push everyone away into the same isolation she had known for so long? Anxiety coiled tightly around her heart, leaving her teetering on the edge of uncertainty, as profound choices loomed like shadows, waiting for her to decipher her path forward. The hum of the diner faded into the background as Sarah wrestled with the turmoil brewing inside her. The face of Jack, so poised and confident, was juxtaposed against her own reflection in the diner's stainless steel surfaces, fearful and uncertain. How could he offer help without strings attached? It felt alien to her, this notion of charity cloaked in kindness. Yet, as she collected plates and wiped tables, she couldn't shake the reality that her options were dimming. The thought of her mother's return loomed like a storm cloud, casting shadows over her already heavy heart. She knew she had to face the unresolved feelings that welled up with that single call. The prospect of becoming a mother should have been filled with wonder, yet it felt like an unrelenting weight, bearing the truth of her own childhood, one marred by instability. Was there strength in accepting support, or was it merely an admission of failure? With each passing minute, uncertainty gnawed at her. As the last customers filed out of the diner, Jack slid into a booth in the corner, an inviting air about him. Despite the chaotic swirl of thoughts, something deep within Sarah longed to reach out, to explore the potential of this unexpected connection. She had always believed in self-reliance, in the notion that vulnerability was weakness. Yet here was this man, a stranger, who seemed willing to offer a lifeline. "Can I get you anything?" she asked, forcing a smile that felt strained. "Just your company for a moment." His gaze was steady, unflinching. There was a sincerity in his demeanor that unsettled her, yet intrigued her at the same time. Her pulse quickened. She hadn't anticipated this approach. "I'm not sure I'm the right company for you," she managed to reply, her voice betraying her nerves. "The thing is, Sarah," he paused, letting his words settle like the last drops of coffee in a cup. "You might not know it yet, but you possess an incredible amount of potential. I see it in how you handle the chaos around here." Those words struck a chord, resonating deeply within her. Could she call it potential? She felt so small under the weight of expectation and doubt, yet he was framing it as hidden strength. The idea was foreign, almost intoxicating. But she couldn't shake the feeling of having built walls so high they might eclipse any light that dared enter. "Why are you really here?" she asked, the question slipping out before she could check herself. "What's in it for you?" Jack chuckled softly, a sound grounded in sincerity. "Honestly, I want to help someone who I believe could use a little kindness. I find it refreshing, and frankly, I also admire your determination." A flicker of something hope danced in the hallway of her heart. Could he really be genuine? Or was this just another man offering empty promises? "Why are you so keen on helping me?" she asked again, her frustration swelling. This wasn't what she wanted. She didn't want to feel beholden to anyone. "Because I've been on the other side of insecurity and helplessness. I know what it feels like. Growing up with limitless resources felt like a prison at times," he admitted, his voice dropping. "I see you fighting your way through difficult circumstances. It resonates with me, more than you know." Listening to him brought a flood of emotions rushing forward, and for the first time, she began to weigh her choices clearly. She could either cling to her isolation or consider taking a step toward vulnerability, testing the waters of connection and support. But a voice inside her surged at the thought of the mess that lay ahead with her mother and becoming a parent, all while still chasing the dreams that seemed to drift further out of reach. Taking a deep breath, Sarah met Jack's gaze, uncertainty battling with a flicker of hope. The challenge before her felt monumental, the decision weighing heavily. As she contemplated the unforgiving starkness of her reality, another thought crashed in, a reminder that life never waited. Turning back to face Jack, she found herself at a precipice. "What would you want from me in return?" she ventured. The atmosphere intensified, her heart pounding louder than the noise of the diner, echoing her unresolved conflicts. Whatever lay ahead, she knew she was on the verge of transformation. What would she learn about herself in this exchange? "What do you want for yourself?" Jack replied softly, the question ricocheting in her mind, suddenly leading her to wonder if perhaps it was time to confront not just her past, but her future as well. The potential for something profound shimmered in the air as Sarah faced the unknown, teetering on the edge of her choice. The moment had come to reassess everything she thought she knew about help and about herself. The time to face her greatest fears was drawing near, and she couldn't retreat now. What would she ultimately choose? Isolation or acceptance? The air in the diner crackled with an intensity that skated the line between hope and trepidation. Sarah felt the weight of Jack's gaze pressing against her, the scrutiny igniting a flicker of self-awareness she had long buried. What I want for myself. The question echoed in her mind, unfurling like an uninvited guest. Did she even know? She shifted her weight from one foot to the other, the fleeting moment of silence stretching between them. It was a gentle prod, urging her to confront the realities she had avoided for so long. She thought about the dreams she once harbored, designing her own line of clothing, traveling beyond the confines of her small town, and cultivating a life unmarred by echoes of her past. Each ambition felt like a delicate thread, fraying ever since her mother's tumultuous presence loomed back into her life. "Well, I want to feel like I can breathe again," she finally answered, her voice wavering but defiant. It wasn't a declaration of ambition, but a stark revelation that confronted her with the truth of how her world had shrunk. Jack nodded, his expression a mix of understanding and encouragement. "That essay start," he replied, his tone an anchor in the swirling uncertainty. "Breathing means you're alive, and it means you still have choices." Choices, a concept that sent a shiver of apprehension down her spine. In a world ruled by unpredictability, how could she trust her judgment? The fear of making the wrong decision gnawed at her insides. But here Jack was, presenting her with a sliver of possibility, a lifeline she had been too wary to grasp. "What would that look like for you?" He pressed gently, unraveling the story she had kept tightly wound. She hesitated, envisioning a life beyond the diner and the burdens that seemed to mold her. "It would mean standing on my own," she finally said, gaining confidence with each word. "Not just surviving, but thriving. I want to create something, have my own space, my own voice." As she spoke, hues of determination began to etch themselves into her resolve, faint at first, but growing clearer with each breath. Could it be possible? Was she truly capable of carving out a future from this chaos? The more she contemplated this idea, the less intimidating it felt. "And you believe you can do that here?" Jack asked, his eyebrows slightly raised, prompting her to confront the truth even further. "Maybe," she said quietly, the prospect both thrilling and terrifying. The promise of growth required more than just desire. It demanded action. Does the desire to move forward outweigh the fear of potential failure? Jack leaned forward, his enthusiasm infectious. "Sarah, I genuinely believe in your ability to make that happen. You have the strength. You just need belief in yourself. A mentor can help you navigate this territory. You don't have to do it alone." At his suggestion, a swell of hesitation mingled with a tinge of excitement flickered deep within. A mentor? The prospect was intimidating. Wasn't that exactly what she had resisted? The fear of vulnerability reared its head again, whispering warnings of inadequacy. Yet, this was an opportunity, one she had never dared to hope for. "I don't know if I'm ready for that," she confessed, the words spilling out in a rush. "I've always been so independent. I don't want to rely on anyone else." Jack's expression softened, sympathy mingling with understanding. "It's not reliance. It's about partnership. Learning from someone who has been there can propel you forward. It doesn't strip you of your independence. Rather, it builds a stronger foundation." Those words resonated with her, challenging her previous notions of strength and reliance. Could it be that embracing support didn't signify weakness, but rather a path toward empowerment? Mulling this overheated her cheeks. Would stepping into collaboration suffocate her? Or could it free her? A quiet voice within her was beginning to awaken, coaxing her closer to a decision. "I'll think about it," she finally said, testing the waters of this new reality. As she looked into Jack's eyes, she understood that the conversation was far from over. They were standing at the threshold of a transformative journey. The diner, with its flickering fluorescent lights, had never felt so alive before, full of possibility and anticipation. What if she stepped through this door into a different future? Could she really allow someone to be part of her journey? With that question lingering in the air between them, Sarah felt the stirrings of a decision that could ignite her drive towards something brilliant or crush her unresolved fears with their weight. But a primal part of her, one that had masked itself beneath helplessness, whispered back, "What do you want for yourself, And how far are you willing to go to find out? As the pair sat there, wrapped in a cocoon of shared uncertainty, she couldn't help but wonder, was it time to awaken from her slumber of self-doubt and step toward the life she truly wanted? The path forked ahead, shrouded in both fear and exhilaration. What would lie at the end of the road if she dared to move forward? The next morning tugged at Sarah with an unusual force. Sunlight filtered through the small window of her apartment, casting warm rays that seemed to beckon her into the day. Yet, the thoughts from the diner clung to her, a persistent whisper laced with both hope and fear. She leaned against the counter, coffee brewing in the background, the smell coaxing her into a semblance of routine. Today, she would confront her fears, or at least attempt to. With a deep breath, she scrolled through her phone, her heart racing as she hovered over the email app. A decision loomed over her like a thick fog. Should she reach out to Jack and express her interest in mentorship? Could she afford to pivot into a new chapter of her life? The thought of vulnerability fluttered in her chest, creating a chorus of anxiety. Reflecting on her past, she acknowledged the layers of self-reliance that had somehow morphed into isolation. Years of handling everything alone had forged walls that were hard to dismantle. Did it hurt more to be independent or to reach out for help? The latter now seemed less like weakness and more like a burgeoning strength. "Okay, Sarah," she murmured to herself, gripping the edge of the counter. "It's time to see what you're capable of." Over the next hour, she meticulously drafted an email to Jack, each word a small act of rebellion against her doubts. She laid out her desire to explore their conversation from the diner, mentioning her interest in understanding how to carve out her identity through design. As she hit send, adrenaline surged through her. The decision was made. There was no going back now, only moving forward. The anxieties of the day slowly morphed into determination as she left her apartment. Sarah found herself walking towards the local craft store, her eyes alight with a vision. The vibrant colors of fabric rolls were intoxicating. Each one held potential stories begging to be told. Laughter bubbled inside her. This was the first descent down a path she had dreamed of but rarely walked. As she browsed through the materials, she felt an unexpected sense of empowerment stirring in her. This space, the juxtaposition of textures and hues, sparked a longing to create. Perhaps she could start small, tinkering with designs that whispered her name, waiting to be unveiled. Suddenly, her dreams felt tangible, a tangible tapestry weaving itself through her life. It was invigorating, yet terrifying. A few moments later, she found herself at the checkout with bolts of fabric she'd never imagined buying, their vibrant colors rippling with potential. "You're investing in yourself now," she thought, a new mantra embedding its way into her psyche. Yet the triumph felt fragile, delicately balanced on a precipice. She grasped the bags tightly as she stepped outside. Would she really follow through with this vision, or would it slip through her fingers like sand? As she navigated the streets back to her apartment, she spied a small art gallery displaying local artists' works. A soft impulse urged her toward the entrance, and before she knew it, she stepped inside. The walls pulsated with energy, filled with pieces that spoke of individuality. She let her eyes drift from one canvas to another, each stroke revealing a story of self-discovery. Suddenly, a thought pierced her reverie. What if I showcased my own designs one day? The realization prompted a flurry of excitement mixed with terror. Yet, she saw a glimmer of possibility. As she ventured deeper into the gallery, an art piece caught her, an abstract portrayal of chaos intertwined with hope. It mirrored her current state, a reminder that beauty could emerge from disarray. It sparked something within her. Before she knew it, she was jotting down ideas for her own creations, the potential swirling in her mind like a cyclone of inspiration. Emerging from the gallery, Sarah felt a transformation taking place. She was no longer just a bystander in her life, but a participant, willing to embrace the chaos and mold it into something beautiful. Yet a part of her dreaded the consequences of this new leap. What if she failed? What if she put herself out there and it wasn't enough? The familiar narrative of self-doubt crept back, and nestled in her thoughts. Standing on the cusp of opportunity, she hesitated. Would her newfound aspirations withstand the scrutiny that accompanied them? Or would they crumble beneath her fears? With her bags in one hand and her mind racing, she found herself at a crossroads again, each choice bifurcating the path of who she could become. As the sun dipped toward the horizon, shadowed figures flickered in her mind. Who would she turn to when it got tough? Did she even need to wrestle alone? Resolute now, Sarah willed herself to embrace the uncertainty. Tomorrow would bring conversations no matter where they led. But today, she had to confront the simple truth. There was so much more to discover about herself, and the journey was just beginning. Though fraught with tension, she felt the stirring of a curious belief. What awaited at the edge of her fears and aspirations? Little did she know, an encounter was on the horizon, one that would challenge her resolve and force her to radically reassess what freedom truly meant. The day dawned with a sense of electric anticipation. Sarah woke with the recurring thought of her decision to reach out to Jack. An email, simple as it may seem, felt monumental, a door slowly creaking open to a realm she'd long hesitated to enter. Doubt wrestled with hope in her mind, competing for dominance like old foes. Today, she resolved to push through that conflict. With renewed determination, she shifted her focus to her next step, the newfound creativity she had ignited within herself. The fabrics she had purchased gleamed on her table, their colors vibrant and full of promise. For the first time in years, she felt that her apartment was not just a place of solitude, but a sanctuary of expression. As she laid the fabric out, the starkness of her solitude enveloped her. Alone in her small apartment, with scissors and thread at the ready, she considered her next move. She had only an inkling of understanding about design, yet the desire to create a piece was like a primal call. She flipped through notebooks filled with sketches and notes from her past. Flashes of inspiration flickered like fireflies in her mind. But then, the old specters of self-doubt loomed over her. What if it's not enough? What if it doesn't come out right? She shook her head, attempting to banish the creeping negativity. Instead, she channeled that energy into tangible designs on paper, rough outlines transforming into more defined shapes as she worked. Hours passed, and sunlight transitioned into evening light, casting long shadows that echoed her inner struggle. A single piece began to form, a tapestry of her aspirations woven into fabric. The connection she felt strengthened with every snip of the scissors, every stitch she sewed. Yet, as the night deepened, the weight of isolation returned with fervor. She realized she had avoided one crucial truth. She had no one to share this moment with, no one to validate her progress or reignite the flame of encouragement. The void felt both daunting and familiar. Just because you are alone doesn't mean you have to stay that way, she whispered to herself, those words echoing against the silence. That evening, she decided to test a resolve she had been toying with to show her work to someone, anyone. It was no longer just about creating in seclusion. There was a world out there that might be receptive, just as the art gallery had been. She turned to her laptop, heart racing anew as she searched for local meetups or communities of aspiring designers. Each click brought a flicker of hope, a sense that she was not alone in this pursuit. In her search, a workshop caught her a local cooperative that focused on emerging artists and designers, promising both mentorship and collaboration. The thought of stepping into a space teeming with inspiration and like-minded individuals ignited a fire in her chest. This is it, Sarah mused, a chance to grow and to learn from others. As she clicked register, a wave of anxiety swelled. What if she failed? What if she was met with scoffs or criticism instead of encouragement? Yet alongside that fear, a thought emerged. What if this was the key to her evolution? Embracing the chaos, she pressed on with her registration, the screen confirming her place in the workshop with a finality that set her heart racing. Yet, as the confirmation lingered on the screen, another question surfaced. What if she encountered the very fears she had so carefully constructed barriers around? Would this workshop push her deeper into that chaos or help crystallize her identity as a designer? With a mixture of exhilarating anticipation and trepidation, she sat back and exhaled, sorting through the tapestry of emotions tangled within. This was not just a step forward in her creative journey. It was also an invitation to redefine her understanding of vulnerability, connection, and the intricate web of who she truly was becoming. As the night wore on, Sarah glanced at the now bare table, the fabric of her dreams scattered about. Success felt closer, yet burdened with the weight of uncertainty. The monster of fear lingered, ready to pounce when she least expected it, and just as she began to envision herself indulging in the buzz of a collaborative space, a message chimed on her phone. It was from Jack. He wanted to meet soon. Why now? She questioned, a new wave of anxiety threatening to engulf her again. Would this mentorship opportunity be the commitment she had so desperately sought, or would it lead her into an abyss of self-doubt? Her journey was about to take a turn she couldn't foresee, and as she braced herself for what was ahead, she wondered whether she was truly ready for both the promise and the peril that lay before her. Morning light seeped into her apartment as Sarah prepared for the workshop, illuminating remnants of her doubt and hope. Her heart pounded in resonance with her conflicting emotions, anxiety, tinged with excitement. Today wasn't just another day. It marked a departure from the isolation that had cloaked her for too long. As she dressed, each garment highlighted her own creative aspirations. The simple act of choosing her outfit felt like an inaugural act of empowerment. She donned a vibrant blue dress, its color a reflection of her desire to break free and embrace the world that awaited her. Standing in front of the mirror, she practiced a smile, attempting to dispel the shadows of doubt that hinted at self-sabotage. "You belong here," she whispered to her reflection, fighting against the shadows that whispered back. Upon arriving at the workshop venue, she was greeted by scattered groups of individuals, animated conversations wafting through the air like the aromas from a bustling cafe. It was a stark contrast to her solitary world. For a moment, she hesitated at the threshold, all too aware of her frail feelings like a last-minute decision to leap into the deep end of a swimming pool. Taking a breath, she stepped inside, where the warm atmosphere buzzed with a palpable eagerness for collaboration and creativity. Compulsively, she scanned for familiar faces, but none emerged from the crowd. The sudden reality hit her. She was, in fact, alone among a sea of hopeful artists. Her heart raced as her eyes flitted from one group to another. Some held sketchbooks, others fabrics. Conversations swirled with ideas, laughter intertwined with artistic musings. Desperately seeking a foothold, she recalled the advice she had given herself last night. She couldn't let fear hold her back. With a deliberate effort to combat the anxiety bubbling within, Sarah decided to force a connection. She approached a small circle where a conversation centered around a recent design competition was unfolding. "That sounds incredible," she interjected, nearly surprising herself with how her voice carried above the others. Several heads turned, small smiles acknowledging her presence. "Do you design?" One of them, a tall woman with fiery hair, asked. "I'm just starting out," Sarah replied, her voice steadier than she expected. "I've been working on my own pieces." The woman leaned closer, her interest piqued. "What kind of pieces?" Suddenly, Sarah felt a surge of connection, a rush of confidence rejuvenating her spirit. Sharing her artistic journey felt oddly liberating, a confession of her aspirations and struggles pouring out in the comfort of shared ambition. As she spoke, she felt less isolated, the weight of her solitary crafting lifted, replaced by the warmth of camaraderie. Yet even amidst this new vibrancy, nagging doubts hovered. Was she merely playing a role, or had she truly begun to forge her identity as a designer? As they discussed collaborative projects and art concepts, she felt both excited and frightened excitement dancing alongside the specters of her previous failures. The shadows were momentarily at bay, but they loomed reminders of her fragility. Hours passed in a blur of inspiration. Ideas flowed freely as Sarah scribbled notes and sketches, instinctively contributing alongside others. Yet just as she embraced this new clarity, a familiar message from Jack broke through her concentration, a reminder of looming expectations outside this creative sanctuary. She hesitated, feelings of elation colliding with the discomfort of her past relationship with him, how it had tethered her to her insecurities. "Are you all right?" the fiery-haired woman inquired, our protagonist's sudden stillness rendering her unaware of the intensity of the ongoing conversation. Sarah hesitated, questions swirling as she struggled to grasp her newfound resolve. "Yes," she began. "I just need to figure out what I want." As Sarah waited for a response, the air around her thickened with anticipation. What if confronting Jack brought all her fears to the surface? The workshop felt like a beacon of hope, yet the ghosts of her past hinted at an impending conflict. She sensed that every moment spent in this nurturing environment would require her to confront not just her aspirations, but also the barriers holding her back, Jack being one of them. With newfound determination tugging at her heart, she resolved to delve deeper into her own identity before facing him. But could she balance both the excitement of her artistic pursuits and the unsettling precipice of her past? The question settled in her core, lingering as she looked around, gathering energy from her surroundings. As vibrant discussions swirled around her, she realized that while she could design from the fabric of her hopes, she couldn't ignore the complexity of her emotional landscape. What choices would she make when faced with Jack? That lingering thought clenched within her a tether, tying her to both promise and peril. As she prepped to immerse herself fully in this workshop, anxiety tangled with exhilaration, a reminder that growth entailed navigating not just creative challenges, but personal ones as well. What revelations awaited her in this delicate balancing act between ambition and vulnerability? Navigating through the whirlwind of ideas and voices buzzing in the workshop, Sarah felt her nervousness begin to dissipate. The exhilaration of creative exchange fueled her ambition, and she began to truly engage, asking questions and sharing her opinions. No longer merely an observer, she found herself embracing the collaborative energy, invigorated by the diverse perspectives around her. Each conversation became a thread in the tapestry of her evolving identity as a designer. As she participated, Sarah explored ideas about materials and styles that had long danced in her imagination but had never seen the light of day. Here, among unfamiliar faces, she expressed her thoughts, articulating the vision that had felt nebulous until now. With each passing moment, she felt her confidence swell. The laughter, the back-and-forth banter over design choices, the excitement of shared discovery, it was intoxicating. Yet, in these fleeting moments of joy, she felt the shadows of self-doubt creeping back and like an unwelcome guest. The specter of her past relationship with Jack loomed larger, a reminder of the insecurities that had stifled her creativity. "Do you have a design philosophy?" asked the fiery-haired woman, her energy infectious. "I think it's about authenticity," Sarah replied, her voice steadying as she shared her thoughts. "Designing from a place that's true to yourself rather than just following trends." The woman nodded thoughtfully, her expression supportive. "You got the right idea. It's your unique perspective that will set you apart." At that moment, Sarah felt as if the pieces of her past were settling into place, melding into a clear picture of who she could be as a designer. But as they discussed philosophy, she couldn't shake the nagging feeling that she was standing at a crossroads. "What do you see yourself in 5 years?" another participant asked, and the question hung in the air like a dare. Sarah hesitated. What a loaded question. She could envision herself designing an entire collection clothing that spoke to her story, her struggles and triumphs woven into each seam. But then the name Jack bubbled up like an unwanted reminder, a figure whose expectations could drown out her aspirations. "I just want to be free," she resolved finally, her voice stronger for the determination brewing inside. Freedom was what she pursued here. The workshop wasn't merely a space to create. It was an avenue to explore who she was apart from repressing influences. As they wrapped up the session, She exchanged contact information with her new acquaintances, solidifying her resolve. But her heart sank briefly at the thought of contacting Jack afterward. The anticipation of reconnecting with him filled her with dread, yet she knew confronting him was necessary. Avoidance had never solved anything. It had only delayed her growth. As the workshop came to a close, the energy of the day left her exhilarated yet unmoored. There would be follow-ups, ideas to iterate on, and collaborations to explore. However, her mind constantly raced back to Jack. What would he say? Would he support her newfound ambitions or tether her to past fears? Finding clarity after confronting him felt imperative, but she knew it would not come easily. Sarah knew she needed to prioritize this conversation, yet the mere thought saturated her with apprehension. Could she articulate her desire to forge a separate path without igniting conflict? Emerging from the workshop, the city felt alive, a reflection of the new vibrancy brewing within her. But doubt gnawed at the edges of her determination, a reminder of how fear and hope danced together in the shadows she had yet to confront. Conscious of the crucial choice ahead, she took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her convictions pressing against her resolve. The moment to face Jack sat looming before her, a test of both her newfound strengths and her vulnerabilities. As she prepared to reach for her phone, a sudden chill whispered through her, a foreboding sense of confrontation lingering in her throat. The moment had come to finally step in her own light. Would she falter or ascend? What awaited her on the other side of this conversation? The weight of the moment hung in the air as Sarah stared at her phone, her heartbeat synchronizing with the cadence of her thoughts. She couldn't delay any longer. The longer she hesitated, the more her self-doubt festered. As her finger hovered over Jack's contact, a problem loomed larger. She couldn't shake the fear of reverting to her old self, the one who had allowed his judgments to overshadow her aspirations. Taking a deep breath, she pressed the call button before she could second-guess herself. The ringing felt eternal, stretching out all her insecurities. Each flicker of sound swirled in her stomach until she wrestled the anxiety down with determination. "Hello." Jack's voice crackled through the speaker, as familiar as an old song, yet now foreign in the context of her evolving self. "Hey, it's me," Sarah said, injecting a semblance of boldness into her tone. Her intentions felt fierce and inexplicably vulnerable all at once. "Hey, long time, no talk. What is going on?" Jack's casual response was laced with curiosity, yet Sarah sensed the underlying unease in his tone. "I wanted to meet up," she replied, swallowing hard. "There is something important we need to discuss." Jack hesitated. "Sure, what about?" The question pierced her resolve. How could she possibly convey the depths of her transformation through mere words? This wasn't just a conversation. It was her chance to redefine her narrative, her identity as both a person and a designer. "Just, my plans for the future." The vagueness hung there, but she had no intention of revealing everything just yet. "Okay, let us meet," he said, his voice tinged with a hint of surprise. "How about tomorrow?" When they hung up, the gnawing tension subsided momentarily, replaced by stirring anticipation. Complicated emotions rushed through her like tidal waves, a mix of hope, fear, and a semblance of giddy exhilaration that made her wonder about the resilience she never knew she possessed. The workshop had thrown open the doors of possibility, and now she was tasked with walking through them. As Sarah prepared for the next day, her mind was trained on articulating her vision. She gathered sketches, notes, and snippets of thoughts she distilled throughout her experiences, wanted to show Jack not just the dream she held, but the strength she had gained. Each item she laid out felt like an affirmation, a marker on her journey of reclaiming agency over her life choices. Yet, just as excitement began to settle into confidence, familiar insecurities bubbled back to the surface. What if Jack dismissed her dreams? What if he insisted she was chasing an unattainable fantasy? The shadow of doubt haunted her thoughts like an unwelcome companion. Taking a moment, Sarah gazed at the sketches that adorned her table, everything she wanted to share with Jack, vulnerable yet vibrant. She had made it this far by trusting herself, Confidence had come alive in the workshop, and she recognized that this conversation was not merely about her aspirations. It was also about recalibrating her boundaries. Tomorrow would be a turning point, but she needed to be prepared for any outcome. What if Jack's reaction was worse than she feared? Would his disappointment confine her growth, or could she transform that moment into her powerful declaration of independence? With that reflection, an idea flickered in her mind, a strategy shaping itself. She could approach this conversation as a negotiation of improvement, setting the foundation for an amicable yet firm stance. But as she turned off the lights, readying herself for bed, the weight of uncertainty settled in once more. It was a dual-edged sword. This was a pivotal moment of potential, yet it teetered on the edge of conflict. As sleep eluded her, one question anchored her thoughts: was she truly ready to let go of the past for good? The dawn could bring a new beginning or drown her in the echoes of who she once was. The next day would usher in something irrevocable. Would she emerge emboldened, or would the tide pull her back to the depths? The dance between past and future awaited, and it promised to be a reckoning. The sunlight filtered through her window, casting a warm glow across the sketches sprawled on the table. As Sarah sat down to review her notes one last time, a wave of determination surged over her. Today wasn't just about meeting Jack. It was a declaration of her evolving identity, a firm step into the life she envisioned. She inhaled deeply, grounding herself in the moment as she reminded herself of the resilience burgeoned in her heart. Arriving at the cafe, Sarah felt the familiar jitters in her stomach, a reminder of the stakes involved. She spotted Jack seated at a corner table, his posture relaxed, an air of casualness surrounding him. Yet, she could sense the tension emanating from him, the unspoken question lingering between them: what had changed? When their eyes met, she offered a smile, and for the first time, its weight felt genuine. As she approached, memories flooded back of their last discussions, filled with uncertainty and frustration. But today, she was armed with clarity and purpose. "Hey, thanks for meeting me," she said, settling into the seat across from him. "Of course. So what is this all about?" Jack leaned in, curiosity entwined with caution. Taking a steadying breath, Sarah laid out her sketches on the table. The vibrant colors and imaginative designs radiated her ambition. All the dreams that had once felt so far removed, now taking tangible form before them. "I've been working on a new collection, one that reflects my journey, my growth as a designer and as a person." Jack's expression shifted. Intrigue mixed with skepticism played across his features. "This looks different. What inspired you?" Here was her chance not just to showcase her work, but to explain the depths of her transformation. "The workshop I attended completely reshaped my perspective. It helped me realize that my designs can tell stories, my story. Each piece connects with the emotions I've experienced, the challenges I've faced. It's about self-acceptance and celebration, not just fashion." As she spoke, Sarah felt the tentative restraints of self-doubt loosen. Each word she shared was a reclamation, a building block of her newfound identity. Jack listened, a furrow marking his brow, and for a moment, she feared skepticism would snuff out her flame. But then, something shifted. His demeanor softened, leaning toward her ideas rather than away. "It's definitely unique," he admitted, breaking through the intensity. "But do you really think there's a market for something so personal?" His question hung in the air, and with it came a flicker of familiar insecurity. Instead of retreating, Sarah leaned in, driven by the realization that this dialogue was her mark of independence. "I believe that personal stories resonate with people. This isn't just about selling clothes. It's about connecting with individuals on a deeper level. Everyone has a story. This is mine." The conviction in her voice surprised even herself. It felt like armor forged through vulnerability. Jack paused, contemplating her words. "It's bold," he finally said, and Sarah noticed the way he hesitated. "But I worry about the risk involved. You might be getting ahead of yourself." Staring directly at him, Sarah grappled with the memories of doubts that Jack had once instilled in her. "Maybe risk is exactly what I need. It's time to step out of the shadows and be the creator I know I am. This isn't just a career move. It's a path I need to take for myself. As silence settled between them, an internal battle raged within her. She had laid her heart before him, and now it was clear that overcoming the risks was essential to her progress. Jack offered a small smile, but it felt like the calm before a storm. Their conversation pivoted, and before she could even process what was said, Jack asked her to ponder again if she was ready for this leap into the unknown. That question echoed with possibility and uncertainty. The air thickened with tension in that delicate moment. Sarah's resolve began to solidify. She would confront the fear of rejection head-on and reinforce her newfound identity. But she feared Jack might be growing into a formidable opponent, someone who could either uplift her aspirations or question every choice she made going forward. With this battle now on the horizon, the very essence of her future was at stake. Could she convincingly stand her ground when someone she cared about, even in a complex way, doubted her conviction? Would she rise to the challenge or let doubts seep back in? The time had come not just to share her dreams, but to defend them. She felt the ground shift beneath her, the stakes rising, promising a shift from uncertainty to a broader conflict. How would she navigate the tension while still anchored in her truth? The crossroads of past and future were more alive than ever, igniting a fervor that promised to reveal something significant ahead. As Sarah sat across from Jack, the air charged with anticipation, she felt an overwhelming sense of clarity wash over her. This meeting was not simply a conversation about fashion or design. It was a confrontation with her own fears and the ghosts of self-doubt that had haunted her for far too long. The sketches lay before them, vibrant expressions of her journey, each one a testament to the resilience she had recently uncovered within herself. "Sarah, this is genuinely impressive," Jack began, his tone appreciative as he examined the colorful designs. "But I still can't shake the worry that you're taking a big risk here." She felt her chest tighten at his words, that familiar wave of anxiety threatening to reclaim its hold. Yet, deep down, something had shifted. She had already faced daunting challenges in her life, none greater than the internal battle she was waging now. With a steady breath, she leaned forward, determination solidifying in her voice. "Jack, I appreciate your concern, but I've realized that risk is an integral part of growth." The words hung between them, lingering like the aroma of freshly brewed coffee that mingled with the promise of rebirth. "I spent too long letting fear dictate my choices, but now I'm committed to this path. Each piece I've designed tells my story, and I believe that it's time to share it. That's who I am." Jack's expression softened, the shadows of doubt flickering in his eyes. "I see that you've really put thought into this. But what if you struggle to find your audience?" "I'm not expecting anything to come easy," she replied, her voice steady now. "But I know that authenticity resonates. I want to build something meaningful, a community of people who understand that stories matter." The passion behind her words ignited a spark of fervor that felt almost tangible. Unraveling her intentions was liberating. For a moment, she sensed his hesitation. Jack had been her anchor in tumultuous waters, yet now she stood on her own. "I know you care, Jack, but what I need now is to believe in myself, and I can't do that if I keep second-guessing my abilities to you or anyone else." As the realization settled in, Sarah felt a weight lift. She was no longer chained by the confines of her past relationship with Jack. She was not seeking approval anymore, but rather reaffirming her commitment to herself and her aspirations. Recognition sparked within her, igniting the fire of self-acceptance. "I want to exhibit my designs at the upcoming local art event," she declared, voice strong. "This will be my launch. It's time for me to present my vision to the world." His brows furrowed, Jack obviously weighing her ambition against the caution he had always carried. "An exhibit is a bold move. Are you sure you're ready for that?" "Ready?" The question echoed within her, demanding consideration. A rush of excitement surged forward, quelling the lingering doubts. "I may not be entirely ready, but I am willing to learn and grow through it. I've already taken the first steps by attending the workshop connecting with others, and embracing my creativity. I'm driven now alive in ways I hadn't anticipated. Jack paused, studying her with an intensity she hadn't seen before. It's incredible to see you evolve like this. I just want to make sure you don't lose sight of your independence. In that moment, Sarah realized granted his wish of protection against failure would safeguard her. It would only restrain her. I don't intend to give up my independence, she reassured him. In fact, pursuing this passion cultivates my autonomy. Trust me, Jack. I'm committed to carving my own way. There was a clarity in her words, a sense of knowing that transcended doubt. Sarah was building bridges within herself, a newfound strength enabling her to stand tall despite uncertainties. No longer hesitant, she confronted the visions of her past, the rejections, the fears, and the isolation, and transformed them into fuel for her future. Jack's gaze softened, a hint of admiration shining through. If this is what you truly want, then I'm glad to see you chasing it. Just know that I'll be here to support you. But I recognize that you're ready to pursue your dreams on your own terms. A weight lifted as a genuine connection blossomed between them once more. They were not tethered in the same way. Instead, she felt empowered by the belief that she was not just a reflection of his ambitions, but a force within her own right. Thank you for understanding, Jack, she replied, the gratitude surging forth from her heart. Your friendship has meant more to me than I can express, but this is my time to transform my dreams into reality. As they wrapped up their conversation, Sarah felt a sense of completion unlike anything she had experienced. The ambivalence that once shackled her had given way to clarity. She collected her sketches, her journey now etched firmly in the patterns of each design, resonating with each step she would take. Leaving the cafe, a wave of euphoria coursed through her. Sarah had achieved a balance, she had confronted her past, and stepped firmly into her future. For the first time, she felt complete confidence in the direction her life would unfold. This was her moment of triumph. The single she had pinned on her wall until now represented her aspirations, but it felt like they were finally manifesting into something beautiful. As inspiration surged like wildfire, she was on a path to demonstrate to herself that she was not merely chasing happiness. She was now embracing her truth. As Sarah stepped onto the bustling street, a smile danced upon her lips. Her heart was beating with purpose, and she was ready to embrace a future filled with possibility. She had conquered fear, emerged independently, and dared to dream out loud, her story beginning anew. Now it's time to take action. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that will inspire you to chase your dreams. Leave a like right now to help fuel the algorithm and bring these life-changing tales to more people. Comment below with your thoughts and the lessons you learned from Sarah's journey. Your feedback is invaluable. Share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and spark their own transformational stories. Don't wait even one more second. Show your support and be part of this growing community of overcomers.